Good morning, children. We were doing digestive system. I have already done this diagram with you, Patrick. We need to go ahead. Dentition I have done. Stomach we have done. And we have also done this small intestine. We were doing digestive glands. And we had done about this pancreas, common duct, all these things were done. Now we're going to start with the process of digestion of food. Okay. There are two processes by which food is digested. One is the mechanical process and the other is the chemical process. Mechanical process where only the movement, basically transport movement is happening and no chemical reactions are taking place. So there are two steps of digestion or two processes involved in the complete digestion. One is mechanical and the other is chemical. Okay, name the two methods by which digestion of food is accomplished. One is mechanical and the other is
Chemical.
We talked about buccal cavity. Which buccal cavity commonly is which cavity? When I say buccal cavity, I mean which cavity?
Oral cavity.
Yes, buccal cavity, oral cavity, mouth cavity. Now there are two major functions, okay, of this cavity, that is the buccal cavity. We need to remember one is the mastication of food and the other is facilitation of swallowing. What do you mean by mastication of food, beta? What do you mean by masticating food? Anyone?
Moving.
Chewing.
Okay, chewing. Basically, it is chewing and making it wet. And you remember bolus word you must have done in class 9 to 10. You remember bolus?
Yes, ma'am.
No? See, in the food, what happens is when the saliva mixes with the food, it becomes a little wet and it becomes soft. So the tongue, it rolls the food into small chunks, which are known as bolus. And one by one, the bolus goes down your food pipe. The food does not go entirely. It goes in the form of small bites, which are known as bolus. Okay, like you take a chapati and you roll it and make a roll, something like that. The food becomes wet because of saliva and the tongue rolls the food and makes small balls, which are called as bolus. So first thing which is happening in the mouth is mastication of food. And second is facilitation of swallowing. That means to help swallow the food into the food pipe. Now we also know that we have in the mouth, teeth and the tongue. Just now one of your friends said actually it means chewing. And I added a word that making it also wet. So when we say masticating, we are actually doing two things better. The teeth is breaking up the food into smaller pieces and saliva is getting mixed up in the food. So mastication of food is taking place. How it is taking place? Food is broken down into small pieces and the food is also becoming wet. Now we know that in saliva, mucus is present and mucus always helps in lubrication. So when mucus, we said food becomes wet because what adds to it is saliva. Saliva contains mucus. So your food gets lubricated. It becomes very easy to transport. And then these masticated food particles is what we call as a bolus. Is it okay? Those wet, lubricated, small food pieces are what we call as bolus. And bolus is formed after mastication. So whenever you come across the word mastication, remember it is taking place in the mouth, number one. In this, food is broken down into smaller pieces, number two. Number three, saliva is mixing up with the food. Number four, the mucus which is present in the saliva, it lubricates the food. And they are rolled into small pieces or chunks which are known as bolus. Now the bolus is already lubricated. What happens? Wherever there is lubrication, there is easy movement, beta. So this bolus then further passes on to the food pipe and then it is swallowed. Okay, this process is known as deglutition. What is it called? Deglutition. What is this process called, children?
Deglutition.
Now understand what is deglutition. Whatever happened in the mouth, the food is already converted into small chunks which are known as bolus. So this bolus will go into the pharynx and from pharynx it will go into the esophagus. So this process by which these bolus are further transferred into the pharynx and then into the esophagus is what we call as deglutition. Now the bolus is passing down. From the oral cavity, it went to pharynx, then it went to the esophagus, then it will keep on. Now once it reaches the esophagus, you must have surely read about peristaltic movements. You remember what are peristaltic movements, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
where do they take place? Stomach, mouth, intestine, esophagus. Where will this happen?
Esophagus.
Yes.
Esophagus.
Very good. There's successive contractions and relaxations. Okay. So once this bolus, remember we are not using the food now. We are using the word bolus. Okay. Now these bolus, when they come down, that is why it is always suggested that whenever you eat your food, chew nicely so that the bolus formation takes place properly in the mouth. Otherwise, what happens is the digestion is going to take a lot of time because the food will have to be first broken down into smaller pieces and then the saliva will be mixed. Now the bolus is going down the esophagus. There are movements which are called peristalsis. When I did the diagram of digestive system, I explained about this sphincter to you, that is gastroesophageal sphincter. This sphincter is present where the esophagus merges or enters into which part, beta? If you remember?
Stomach.
Very good. Good. So till now, what have we done? Food entered the buccal cavity. There, what happened? The teeth is breaking down into smaller pieces. The saliva is mixing up and the tongue is rolling it into small, small chunks. And then bolus is formed. This bolus from the mouth will go into pharynx, then esophagus. Process is deglutition. In esophagus, we have movements which are called peristalsis. And then the food is pushed to the stomach with the help of a sphincter, which is known as
Gastroesophageal
Yes.
sphincter.
We just talked about mucus and we said saliva contains mucus. Okay. Saliva contains many other things. Let us talk about what. Number one, it contains mucus, which helps in lubrication of the food. What does saliva contain apart from this? It contains electrolytes, ions, sodium ions, potassium ions, chloride ions, and bicarbonate ions. Name the 4 ions which are present in saliva. Sodium ions. Which are the other ones?
Potassium ion.
Yes. And
Chlorine ion.
yes. And bicarbonate enzymes. It also contains 2 very important enzymes. One is salivary amylase and the other is lysozyme. Now let us talk about the composition of saliva. Number 1, mucus. Number 2, electrolytes. And which electrolytes? 4 electrolytes. And number 3, enzymes. Which enzymes? Amylase and lysozyme. Okay, children, let's talk about the composition of saliva. Number 1 is mucus. And number 2 is electrolytes. Name the 4 electrolytes present in saliva.
Sodium ion, potassium ion, chlorine ion, and bicarbonate.
And there are 2 enzymes also present. In the enzymes,
Lysozyme and salivary amylase.
Lysozymes and salivary amylase.
so till here, everything that was happening was the mechanical process, beta. Okay. Only the saliva mixing we are going to talk about and tell you about the chemical process. But everybody should know what is saliva made up of. It is made up of mucus, electrolytes, and 2 types of enzymes. Now, the chemical process of digestion starts in the oral cavity only. Okay. It starts in the oral cavity because in the oral cavity, buccal cavity, we have an enzyme, salivary amylase. Which enzyme is present?
Salivary amylase.
Yes. So digestion beta starts here in the mouth itself because of the presence of this enzyme, that is salivary amylase. Now this has a hydrolytic action. It has the action, it can act and break food into smaller particles. But remember, it acts on carbohydrates only. This enzyme splits which nutrient of the food that you eat? Carbohydrates, protein, which ones? Carbohydrates. So all the food that you eat, the first thing to start getting digested in the mouth itself is carbohydrates beta. Because we have an enzyme in the mouth which can digest or start breaking carbohydrates. What is the name of the enzyme?
Salivary amylase.
Salivary amylase.
Yes, beta, it is salivary amylase. Now see very carefully what is going to happen now. Whatever starch or carbohydrate you have eaten, 30% is broken down here only, in the mouth only, that is in the buccal cavity. 30% of carbohydrate starch, okay, it is already hydrolyzed here in the mouth by this cavity, by enzyme salivary amylase. It can function at a pH of approximately 6.8. And it breaks the carbohydrates into disaccharides and maltose. So the process of splitting is taking place over here. That is why this enzyme is known as carbohydrate splitting enzyme. Salivary amylase is called carbohydrate splitting enzyme because it splits the carbohydrates into disaccharides and maltose. We talked about another enzyme present in saliva. Tell me which one it was. One was salivary amylase. Which was the next one?
Lysozyme.
Yes, very good. So, lysozyme, what is lysozyme going to do? It acts as an antibacterial agent that prevents infection. Supposing there is any bacteria which has entered the mouth, so it will act as an antibacterial agent and it will not let any infection spread in your body. If you see, this is here. This is the action of salivary amylase. First enzyme that we are talking about present in the saliva. It works at a pH of 6.8. It breaks down, it splits the starch into a disaccharide sugar, that is maltose. Okay, so it breaks down sugar, and which sugar? Maltose. We've got many types of sugars: glucose, fructose, maltose. So in the mouth, the starch gets broken down into which sugar? Into which sugar, beta? Name the sugar.
Maltose.
Maltose.
Now quickly everybody with me. We are going to start with the process of digestion in the mouth. Is it okay? Just remember one word, that is mastication. So number one, what is happening? Your food is breaking down into smaller pieces. Number two, the saliva is mixing up. It is making it wet. And tongue is rolling it to make it bolus. These bolus, then they will pass through pharynx and then go into the esophagus. In esophagus, we have movements. What were those movements called as?
Peristalsis.
Yes. From esophagus, the food will pass on to the next organ, that is
Stomach.
stomach. Controlled by a sphincter. That sphincter is?
Gastroesophageal.
Very good. When we talk about the composition of saliva, number one, we have mucus. Number two, we have what? We have electrolytes. And number three, most important, we have two enzymes. Name the first enzyme.
Salivary amylase and lysosome.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, beta. Salivary amylase is also called as carbohydrate splitting enzyme because almost 30% of carbohydrate or starch that you eat is split into sugar, maltose, by this enzyme in the mouth itself. But it works at a pH of how much?
6.8.
6.8.
6.8. The second enzyme, lysozyme, is actually antibacterial. Now the food has reached to the stomach. Everybody is okay with what happened in the mouth, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll revise it once again at the end. Now the food has reached the stomach part. Where has it reached now?
Stomach.
Stomach. Now the stomach contains gastric glands. We know this. And gastric glands have three types of cells. Now remember that your food has already entered from the esophagus into the stomach. Digestion will take place with the help of glands which are known as gastric glands. These gastric glands are special, beta. They have three types of cells. Number one is the mucus cells. Obviously, they will secrete mucus. Second cells are called peptic cells, sometimes also known as the chief cells. They secrete the proenzyme pepsinogen. Understand this word proenzyme. When an enzyme is in inactive form, it is called as a proenzyme. So peptic pepsinogen. You can remember this. Peptic cells secrete which enzyme? Come on, P for peptic, I said. And which enzyme does this? Pepsinogen. Which one?
Pepsinogen.
Pepsinogen.
But also remember that it is in the proenzyme form. It is not in the active form. It is inactive form. And the last cells are known as parietal cells, also called as the oxyntic cells. They secrete HCl and a factor which is known as intrinsic factor. This factor is very important for absorption of B12 in the human body. So let us revise again. We have three types of cells in the gastric glands. Mucous cells which secrete.
Mucus.
Okay. Peptic cells which secrete the proenzyme.
Pepsinogen.
Yes.
Pepsinogen.
Very good. And the parietal cells which secrete HCl and a factor which is known as
Intrinsic factor.
Intrinsic factor.
intrinsic factor. We'll learn it once again later. Now, the food has reached the stomach. It is going to stay in the stomach for 4 to 5 hours. Fine, bache? And then it will start mixing with the gastric juices of the stomach. Remember, the medium of the gastric juices is acidic. Okay? What is the medium pH of gastric juices?
Acidic.
Now, the food entered in the form of bolus, small chunks. How to give you an example of a bolus? Do you eat spring rolls? When they're cut into pieces, small circular cylindrical pieces of spring rolls, exactly something like this is the bolus. Now, what happens to the bolus beta? We said the gastric juices are acidic. Churning movement takes place. You put something in a mixie and move it round. That movement is called as churning movement. So what is happening to the food now? The food is getting mixed with gastric juice and it is mixed up. And what is this movement, circular movement called, which is taking place in the stomach?
Churning movement.
Churning movement. Now the food is mixed with another juice, that is gastric juice in the stomach, and now it is called as chyme. Earlier it was mixed with saliva and was called bolus. Now another juice is mixed with it, which is gastric juice, and now it is called as the chyme. We talked about this proenzyme. Do you remember this pepsinogen proenzyme? I told you this is an inactive form because which word we had used? We did not use the word enzyme. What is the word we used?
Proenzyme.
Yes. Now this proenzyme, when it gets an acidic medium, we just said that the gastric juices are also acidic. Fine. And we have HCl also in the stomach. So this pepsinogen, this inactive enzyme becomes active because it gets an acidic medium. And it converts into the active form, that is pepsin. So the inactive form or the proenzyme form is pepsinogen. Once it gets an acidic medium, it converts into the active form that is known as, what is the active form of this enzyme known as?
Pepsin.
Yes. This enzyme is very important, beta, because this enzyme actually breaks the proteins that you eat into smaller, simple particles, which are called proteoses and peptones. Proteoses and peptones. If you talk about the nutrients, then in the mouth, the digestion of carbohydrates started. And in the proteins, which digestion is taking place? What is breaking down?
Proteins.
Yes, beta, it is proteins. Proteins are broken down by an enzyme which was earlier present in an inactive form called as pepsinogen. Once it gets an acidic medium because of the presence of HCl, it converts into the active form which is called as pepsin. And it converts the proteins, it breaks down the proteins into simpler particles which are known as proteoses and peptones. So in the gastric juice, we also have mucus and bicarbonates present. What are the two things which are present, beta, in gastric juice? Mucus and?
Bicarbonates.
Bicarbonate.
Mucus helps in lubrication. If you remember, we talked about mucus in the mouth also. There also it was helping in lubrication only. And these bicarbonates, they protect the epithelium of the body, exsecretion by highly concentrated hydrochloric acid. These protect the epithelium cells from getting spoiled or damaged by HCl. The HCl present in the stomach is highly concentrated HCl. It is not dilute HCl. So it can damage the epithelium cells. How does it do this, beta? Look at this very carefully. Mucus and bicarbonates. Mucus is helping in lubrication. And bicarbonates and mucus both help the epithelium layers from exsecretion, from damage by concentrated HCl. Why is HCl present in the stomach? Because it has to provide an acidic medium to pepsinogen so that it can convert into pepsin. The pepsin, the level, the pH value which pepsinogen needs to convert into active pepsinogen is around 1.8. So you can understand how highly. You've done the pH scale in 9th or 10th?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the range?
ma'am.
What is the range of pH scale? From what to what?
Ma'am, 0 to 14.
0 to 14. Neutral is?
7.
Ma'am,
7.
7.
Which one will be more acidic? The one which has a pH of 3 or the one which has a pH of 5?
ma'am, pH of
The
3.
pH
one
of
with
3.
3.
pH of 3. Very good. So if you see this pH value is 1.8. So it is very highly acidic. We need such an high acidic medium so that pepsinogen can convert into what, beta? It can convert into pepsin. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now see this. There is another enzyme which is found in gastric juices. Its name is renin. What is its name?
Renin.
Renin.
But this is only present in infants, milk consuming age wala babies, because they have to digest milk proteins. They do not digest the normal proteins that we eat. They're not eating eggs. They're normally just taking in milk. Okay, infants. There we need a special enzyme which can digest milk proteins. That enzyme is what we call as renin. What is it called?
Renin.
Apart from pepsin, apart from renin, we have another enzyme secreted in very small amount, that is lipase. Which one?
Lipase.
Lipases. Chaliye beta, let's do it once again. We talked about the food entering the mouth. In the mouth, the main thing is formation of a bolus. Food was being masticated. It was broken down into smaller pieces, mixed with saliva, rolled into small pieces called bolus. This bolus from the mouth, it enters into the pharynx and then into esophagus. The process is called deglutition. But this bolus, once it reaches esophagus, we have special contraction and relaxation movements called peristalsis. From esophagus, the food will enter into the stomach, controlled by a sphincter, that is gastroesophageal sphincter. Saliva contains number 1 mucus, which helps the food to push down. Number 2, these electrolytes. Number 3, this enzyme, salivary amylase and lysozyme. Salivary amylase is a very important enzyme. It is this enzyme which starts the digestion of carbohydrates in the mouth. About 30% of the starch is already digested in the mouth because the pH level is around 6.8. So when carbohydrate breaks down, its value, pH needed is 6.8. Okay, beta? We have another enzyme that is lysozyme. We had already discussed what was the function of lysozyme.
Ma'am, it
Yes.
kills the bacteria.
Yes, it kills the bacteria. So then we talked about the food has already reached the stomach. And in the stomach, we have 3 types of cells. Name the first type of cells quickly.
Mucus cells.
Mucous neck cells.
So they secrete what?
Mucus.
Mucus.
Yes, they secrete mucus. Third kind of cells are?
Peptic cells or Schett cells.
Yes, peptic cells. They secrete in proenzyme. Name the proenzyme.
Pepsinogen.
Pepsinogen.
Yes, beta, it is pepsinogen. It is in inactive form. And then we have the parietal cells, which secrete which acid?
HCl.
HCl.
And they also secrete a factor. What is the name of the factor?
Intrinsic factor.
Intrinsic factor.
Intrinsic factor.
Yes, it is called as intrinsic factor. This is very important for the absorption of which vitamin?
Vitamin B12.
B12.
Yes, beta, vitamin C, B12. Now the food has reached the stomach. It is going to be in the stomach for how many hours?
4 to 5 hours.
Here it is going to mix with juices which are known as?
Gastric juices.
gastric juices. And then it is going to be, that is why doctors, what do the doctors say? The doctors always say that you should eat your food by 7:30 at night when you take your dinner. You should not eat your dinner late. The reason is this, because if you eat your food late and you immediately have an hour or so sleep, then this moment starts after half an hour or something in your stomach. That is a churning moment. You do not feel it, but because of that, you have problems of indigestion and you also have issues of sleeplessness. Because by the time you're awake, even if you're awake for 1.5 hours, the food has just done its process of mechanical digestion in the mouth and it has crossed the esophagus moment and then it reaches the stomach. So the entire 4-5 hours, it is going to be in the stomach. So it is always suggested to eat your dinner by 7:30 at any cost if you sleep by 11 o'clock. 4 hours difference is always better. At least 3-4 hours should be there. So we were talking about this proenzyme pepsinogen. It gets converted into active form. What is the active form called?
Pepsin.
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 It breaks down which nutrient?
Protein.
Protein.
Yes, it breaks down the proteins into smaller ones. What are they called? Come on, when they break down into two things, what are the smaller things called as?
Peptides and peptones.
Yes, beta. So the mucus and bicarbonates help in lubrication. We have an acid in the stomach. What is the name of the acid?
HCl, hydrochloric acid.
Yes, it is a very concentrated, strong acid. Its pH is 1.8. It is needed to convert pepsinogen into?
Pepsin.
Very good. We have another enzyme which is present only in the infants, milk-consuming babies, small babies who do not eat food, only milk. Name the enzyme.
Renin.
Renin.
Yes, we have lipase also in a small amount. Now, there are certain types of movements because of the muscularis layer of the small intestine. Now, from the stomach, the food has come to small intestine. Let me trace the path of the food with you. Mouth to buccal cavity. From buccal cavity to, where was the bolus going?
Esophagus.
Esophagus.
Pharynx, esophagus, from esophagus to?
Gastroesophageal sphincter.
Sphincter. Gastroesophageal sphincter will help the food to pass from the esophagus into?
Stomach.
Stomach. Now we are going to move further. The food is going to go from stomach into the intestine. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do this, bache, from here now. Various types of movements are generated by the muscularis layer of the small intestine. These movements help in through mixing of the food with secretions in the intestine. We talked about secretions in the stomach. We had juices. What was the name of the juices?
Gastric juices.
Gastric juices.
Okay. Gastric juices. Now, once the food reaches here in the intestine, two things are happening with it. Remember that the walls of the intestine are muscularis. They're soft muscles. They can easily move about. And second is there are some secretions in the intestine also. So these secretions will mix with the food, make it more wet, number one. And the walls are muscularis, they will push the food. So both of them facilitate digestion. How are they facilitating digestion? The walls are made up of muscles, soft muscles, which push the food. And number two, we have secretions, liquids also present in the intestine, which mix with the food. But let us talk about what all things are there in the small intestine. Number one is your bile juice. Second is your pancreatic juice. And the number three is the intestinal juice. I said there are secretions which will mix with the food in the stomach. So which are the three main secretions? One is going to be a bile juice. Next.
Pancreatic juice.
Yes, beta. It is pancreatic juice. And the third is?
Intestinal.
Yes, beta. These are the secretions which are present in the small intestine. From these, if you take the first two, that is the bile and the pancreatic juice, both of them come to the small intestine through a duct, which is called as the hepatopancreatic duct. Okay, they are secreted into, or they are poured into, the right word will be poured. They are poured into the small intestine through a duct. Duct that day also we did a pipe-like structure. So what is that duct called as?
Hepatopancreatic duct.
Yes. Now you see hepatopancreatic duct. This pancreatic juice, it contains inactive. Now we are going to talk about this juice. Which juice? Pancreatic juice. This also contains an inactive enzyme, trypsinogen. What is the name of this inactive enzyme?
Trypsinogen.
Trypsinogen.
We also talked about another inactive enzyme before this. What was it?
Pepsinogen.
Very good. And when it changes into active form, when it gets an acidic medium, what is it called then?
Pepsin. Pepsin.
Yes, very good. Similarly, pancreatic juice also contains an inactive enzyme. What is it called? Look here, the word is this. First, number one.
Trypsinogen.
Yes,
Trypsinogen.
trypsinogen. Apart from this, it also contains chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidases, amylases, lipases, nucleases. Okay, see this apart from this inactive enzyme, it has got so many other enzymes as well. We're talking about which juice?
Pancreatic juice.
Yes. When we talked about pepsinogen, we said it gets activated into pepsin when it gets an acidic medium. Similarly, your trypsinogen, this one, also gets activated. And for activation, it needs another enzyme. It itself is an enzyme, but for activation, it needs another enzyme, beta, enterokinase. What is the name of the enzyme?
Enterokinase. Enterokinase.
This enzyme is secreted by the mucosa of the intestine. It is with the help of this enzyme, enterokinase, that your inactive trypsinogen will convert into active trypsin. It will convert into what? Active trypsin. And this active trypsin will then activate all the other enzymes. Now let me explain it to you in another way. You have a teacher. Teacher assigns the work to the monitor. The monitor again further passes on to the other students and activates all of them. So understand over here now. Fine. The teacher is the enterokinase. Who is the teacher here? Enterokinase. The monitor is trypsinogen. So enterokinase will activate trypsinogen, and trypsinogen will further activate all the others like chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidase, amylases, lipases, and nucleases. All the other enzymes which are present in the pancreatic juice are actually activated by trypsin. They are activated by
Trypsin.
So all the inactive enzymes that we have in the small intestine or the juice are activated by trypsin. Trypsin itself is activated by another enzyme called as?
Enterokinase.
Yes, beta. And inactive form of trypsin is called?
Trypsinogen.
Trypsinogen. Let us revise once again, children. See now, we were talking about the food entering the small intestine. There are two things which help in digestion in small intestine. One is that the layer is muscularis. Number two, we have juices, secretions present over there. And we said three secretions: bile, pancreatic juice, and intestinal juice. Now this pancreatic juice and bile, both of them come through a duct which is known as?
Hepatopancreatic duct.
Yes, beta. This pancreatic juice is very important because it contains enzymes, a lot of enzymes. The most important inactive enzyme which it contains is trypsinogen. Which one?
Trypsinogen.
Trypsinogen.
This, very good. This inactive trypsinogen converts into active. What is the name?
Trypsin.
Trypsin. Who converts the inactive trypsinogen into active trypsin?
Enterokinase.
Yes, beta. And then now this has become active, so it will activate all the other friends of this one which is present in the pancreatic juice. Okay. Trypsinogen is activated by enterokinase, and this in turn will activate the other enzymes in the juice. Now we're going to talk about the bile. See, we said there are three juices: pancreatic juice, bile, and intestinal juice. Pancreatic juice is very important because it contains trypsinogen. Trypsinogen will convert into trypsin, and then trypsin will activate all the other enzymes. Now let us talk about why bile is important. Now this bile, which is released into the duodenum, it contains two pigments which are called bile pigments: bilirubin and biliverdin. Name the two bile pigments or two pigments present in the bile juice. Bilirubin and biliverdin. Name the two enzymes, children.
Bilirubin and Bilirubin and biliverdin. biliverdin.
When we were discussing about pancreatic juice, we said it contained a lot of enzymes. But bile juice does not contain any enzyme. It contains only these two pigments: salts, cholesterol, and phospholipids, but it does not contain enzymes. It does not contain enzymes. Out of the three juices secreted, which one contains enzymes, beta? Yes, Pache. So, bile does not contain enzymes. It contains two pigments, bile pigments. Name the bile pigments.
Bilirubin
Bilirubin
and biliverdin.
Bilirubin and
biliverdin.
Yes. Bilirubin and biliverdin. Okay. What are the three main juices which are present? Yes, beta. So these are the two important bile pigments. Name the two bile pigments.
Bilirubin and biliverdin.
Yes, Pache. We were talking about this also. Bile salts, cholesterol, phospholipids, but it does not contain what?
Enzymes.
Enzymes. So out of the three juices, which one contained